You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, today is Saturday the 2nd of November 2024, also known as NaNoWriMo Day 2, and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer who hasn't done any writing. This isn't an issue at the moment. I'm not working this month, and the first few days are the ones that I have plans for, as I have possibly said yesterday. So, as long as I start on Tuesday doing some proper writing, that kind of falls in with the plan that I have. That gives me about a week per chapter that I need to write. But I haven't done nothing. So after I spoke to you yesterday, I went to a meet-up with some of the writers of the Milton Keynes writing group that I'm involved with. Oh, I can hear fireworks. And what was really nice was I was presented with the draft copy of a book that I'm rather excited to read. So my friend Tani Campbell, who was interviewed in one of the very early podcasts of this, has been writing a wonderful series called The Bow Street Society, and there's two sort of sets. There's the mystery set, which a mystery series, and this is book 7. That's the one I was given yesterday. And then there's also a short story collection, which I think there's 6 volumes of that, and they're really, really good. They're set in the year 1896 and 1897. It's about a group of fictional detectives, amateur detectives, who kind of investigate cases. It was perceived in those days that only rich people went to the police and that there wasn't always justice for the poor. So this group was set up to investigate cases that the police might not want to, or people didn't want to go to the police about. What's nice about it is it's got a rolling cast of characters. So depending on the mystery being investigated in the story, you won't have every single character in every single book investigating every single mystery. I think it's absolutely cracking. I've been lucky enough to be on Tani's beta reading team. This is the 3rd book that I've done, and all I can say is, I doubt there'll be many people listening to this, but those that are, all I can say is, firstly, I'm not allowed to reveal the title, so I'm going to call it The Case of the Embargoed Epic, because I can't give any hints about the title. And I've seen the artwork. Obviously, Tani has an artist that does the cover artwork for the books, and she said this is her favourite of the covers yet, and I can absolutely see why. It's really good. So yes, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet. That probably won't happen until Tuesday either. But yes, yesterday Tani presented me with this massive double-line spaced printed epic that, frankly, if I dropped it on my foot, I would break my toe. It feels enormous, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's the 7th book in the series. As I say, I've been a beta reader on books 5 and 6. Really looking forward to it. So yes, did that yesterday after the podcast, and then today, again, went with Tani, caught the train from Milton Keynes into London and went to a book fair at the Chelsea Old Town Hall, and it was an antique book fair, and there was some amazing stuff there. So there was stuff that I considered and didn't buy. So there was some absolutely pristine, beautiful first edition Ian Fleming James Bonds there. There was a couple of I didn't buy them because they were like over £1 each, but there were some absolutely beautiful copies of things like Goldfinger and some of the early Bond. So, see, it's weird, isn't it? Because I saw Dr. No and went, oh, that's the first one. But of course, in book terms, it absolutely isn't. It's the first movie, but actually the first book was Casino Royale. But anyway, and I didn't see a copy of Casino Royale because I suspect those are the rarest of them all, actually, and probably even more expensive. The other thing that I did see was a 1977, I think it was first edition, copy of the Silmarillion signed by J.R.R. Tolkien. And it was not as much as you would have thought. It was £650. And I did think about it, but then I thought that's a lot to spend on something that, I would buy it as an investment. I wouldn't read it because I already have at least 2 copies of the Silmarillion. Did I say Silmarillion? Whatever book I said, it's the Silmarillion. Yeah, and I decided not to buy it. But I did buy a couple of things. So I bought So I did say to Tani, as we were on the train, there's a couple of things that would tempt me. So when I was a kid, my mum had some original hardback Hodder and Stoughton famous 5 hardback books, printed in the year the stories were released, and she had 3 of them. And weirdly, I remember the book numbers more than I remember the titles, but it was books 5, 7 and 15 in the famous 5 series. And she had the original hardbacks. And I said, if I see any of those, I may have to buy one. And indeed, book 15 was there, and as I opened it up, and is this the right one? And then I started looking at the illustrations. It's like, oh yeah, these are so familiar. It feels like I grew up with these. So I did buy that, and the actual book is in pristine condition. The dust jacket is okay. It's got a little bit of wear and tear, particularly at the top around the spine. But the actual book is beautiful and in pristine condition. So I was very happy with that. And I'm not going to go around and try and collect all the famous 5 in first edition hardbacks, but that particular one, as I say, because it evokes such memories of when I was a kid, it was just a lovely thing to find and to own. And then the other thing that I found was, obviously I've been talking, I talked about some training I did a few days ago, yesterday, to work in a particular cabin. Well, as we were going past, one of the stands had old airline stickers and old hotel stickers, and I found a 1958 BOAC Monarch service. Now, Monarch was the name of the service, the flight. They used to call it the Monarch, which went between Heathrow and New York. So I got a 1958 suitcase sticker for the BOAC Monarch service. And it's pristine. I might even get it framed, actually. But it's just a beautiful, and given that, the airline that I work for, that's part of their heritage. And it wasn't expensive, and it was a suitcase sticker for 25 quid. So it was, for what it is, it's expensive, but it's just, given that we were literally talking about that service in my training, because that's where all the stuff we do now kind of started. I just thought that was absolutely wonderful. Tani found, I can't remember what it's called, but an illustrated London almanac from 1960, and it had articles about nature and, sunset and sunrise times, and it was just a really beautiful thing, and it was hand illustrated as well. Sorry, not hand illustrated. There were 6 pictures, full page, but picture cards in there, A4 kind of size, that had artwork. You had 6 pieces of artwork going throughout the year. So there was a January, February one, a March, April one, and so on. And what was lovely about them is, although the lines, the black and white lines, were printed, they were coloured in, and they were hand coloured. And it was expensive, but I would say for what it was and what it represented and how old it was, because it was printed in 1860, and in what great I've got a copy of the Radio Times that I got 2 days ago that's not in as good condition as this magazine printed in 1860. So that was absolutely beautiful. And the other thing she found was a theatre programme, and I can't remember what the theatre was, unfortunately, but it was from March 1897. Now, those of you who do follow her Bow Street Society books know that all the stories are set in 1896. Well, the one that I have in my grubby hands, The Case of the Embargoed Epic, is the first one set in 1897. So it was a theatre programme from the year that her stories are set, and the back page full of adverts. And what was nice, it was in a rummage tray, and it was only £2. And of all the things we found, obviously I love the bits I bought, but it's absolutely pristine. It's like it is literally the programme from a play. It's got the full cast, and what you don't appreciate in those days is that the owner of the theatre would often play the leading role as well, and I hadn't picked up on that. And like other people who work behind the scenes and they're in the programme behind the scenes, you can also see them in the cast of the play, and it tells you which rows you can wear bonnets in, and it's just it's really interesting. So Tani got that. And that was what I did today. Tomorrow I'm meeting with a friend from work, and we are going to a stately home. Again, probably won't get a chance, and then going to dinner. Probably won't get a chance to do much writing tomorrow. And I'm toying with the idea of staying in London. I need to firm my plans tomorrow morning, but toying with staying in London that night in a hostel or something in the city, because on Monday I'm going to see Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast being recorded, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. The guests are, I still can't remember the comedian's name that I mentioned yesterday, but it's Nish Kumar and this other guy, so I'm looking forward to that. And and then I will have all day to do stuff in London before I go to the show, so that will be nice. And then I will wend my way home Tuesday morning, and then that's when I need to start writing in earnest. Actually, I might be able to do some on Monday, because if I'm going to be sitting in coffee shops and doing stuff around London, I could take something with me to do some writing. Anyway, sorry that's been a rather longer than normal update, rather like yesterday's. I will try and keep them to 6 minutes in the main if I can, but I've just had a really good day today and I wanted to talk about it. So thank you so much for listening. And I'll be back at some point tomorrow with NaNoWriMo Day 3. Take care, bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.